I'm going to read Ray Armantrout's poem, Anti-Short Story, and I just want you to say a word or two about it. And do we have anybody on the phone? Okay, so it's 610-616-3208, 610-616-3208. Okay, Ray Armantrout's Anti-Short Story, which is in ModPo Plus. I'm going to ask you to comment briefly on it, and then I'm going to ask Jonah to comment as well, since he's got the mic. All right? That's the fate of the mic holder. Anti-Short Story. By the way, Ray has said to us that she was very influenced by Imagism, and Williams in particular at the start. She also adores HD.
You can read Cheshire Poetics to
And
learn
Cheshire
more about
Poetics,
that in
it's
ModPo
there.
Plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll also plug this. Ray Armantrout herself will be here for a webcast in October. 17th. October 17th, which is really exciting. Ray will be here. I think we were talking about the beats, which is not really where her bread is buttered, but she's studying and excited, and I can't wait to hear what Ray has to say about the beats. It's going to be, this is definitely going to be worth capturing the metadata about. Okay, Anti-Short Story. A girl is running. Don't tell me she's running for her bus. All that aside. One more time, and then Jason, and then Jonah. A girl is running. Don't tell me she's running for her bus. All that aside, Jason.
Well, one thing that strikes me about the poem is the use of the first person and "don't tell me"
Yeah.
About the bus.
Yeah.
Which implies a kind of speaker that's attempting to prevent itself from becoming a kind of all-seeing,
right,
subjective speaker who doesn't want to know about the bus because the speaker simply wants to be dazzled by the sight of the girl running.
Yes, beautiful.
And
yeah, go ahead.
And what is so interesting, I think, to track in the Imagist poems is the presence of pronouns. Like HD uses your when speaking like to the object. And Williams often does not use any pronouns that would that could possibly identify the location of the speaker. And so, but I think that what matters is that all of these images are generated by someone's attention.
Yes.
And the attention that they kind of lavish on an object or a short span of time is profoundly subjective.
Yeah. Jason, behind you, I don't know if you realize this, but behind you is we're seeing a framed exclamation point, and that is how I feel about you. Talking about the pronouns in relation to this poem is important, Jonah, because the speaker, as Jason just said, observes a girl running and really would prefer that it be left at that for all kinds of reasons. What are some of those reasons why a poet would prefer not to be told why she's running or to what she's running to? I just used two prepositions in a row. Jonah, hi.
To, I guess, kind of answer that, I guess it's in keeping with a lot of what we've been saying about what is experimental about experimental poetry, and that nothing should be kind of offered up to the reader ready-made. I mean, the creative writing student in me reads the sentence, "Don't tell me," and like sees, here's the negative, show me. But that doesn't seem to be...
You just elided that thing about creative writing workshops, which you should spell out a little bit. The famous line of the fiction writing seminar teacher is...
Show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell. So tell is really, that's anti-short story. She's really directing herself against creative writing pedagogy.
Right. But I'm also not sure if what she's saying is show me either. At least in terms of she's running for her bus. The destination doesn't seem as important as the why is the girl running.
Yes.
But also something Jason had mentioned about that me makes me think that this poem is kind of like a bit of flash fiction, and that the me is the main character of the poem in a way.
Erica and Molly, I want to turn to each of you on this question of anti-short story as briefly as possible. So Jonah has teed it up. The question is there an urgency? Is there an ethical or political dimension to why Ray, aside from attacking the institution of creative writing, as to why Ray really wants us to figure out why the girl is running ourselves? Erica first.
I'm not sure that I'm going to answer that question, but what I'm interested in with this poem is what happens in the white space between the two-line stanza and all that aside.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if that's actually where the story is.
Ah, interesting. I've always taken all that aside to mean that's beside the point. Leave that off to the side. And you're saying something different, aren't you?
I don't know that I'm saying something different. I'm just saying that it's really interesting to me that there's that stanza break there.
Yeah. Molly, what's your thought about this? Why is it so urgent that we not identify for the reader why the girl is running?
I'm not sure I'll get to why, but I think the answer there is in the exclamation point. You know, when we see all that aside, there's usually a comma at the end of it. Yeah. And then comes the explanation or the resolution of the statement.
Right.
And instead, exclamation point just gives us that very clear, like, set that aside. This is not about that. Which leaves it really open to interpretation.
I think Jason must have added that exclamation point to this poem. Davey, if we...
Al, the exclamation point is from Mod Po in San Francisco at the Center for the Book.
Oh, cool. That's right. You were there. You showed up. Yeah. You were doing readings out there. That's very cool. Davey, one more minute on this, and then we'll move on. We'll go back to forums and tweets and things. If we're in a court of law, or let's say a Senate hearing, and I'm asking questions about what we know, I want the witness to establish that the girl is running. I'm not particularly interested in what any one witness can tell us definitively why. It's kind of a standard prosecutorial situation in the judicial environment, which is tell us what you saw. You're not in a position to tell us why, because if you're not in a position to tell us why and you tell us why, you may be solving the problem incorrectly as to why the girl is running. Does this make any sense to you? Am I pushing this too hard? I see this as an ethical poem. I see this as a poem about the girl, rescuing the girl from incorrect assumptions about why she's running.
We're rescuing the girl, but we're also, at the risk of overreading, rescuing our reader selves. And I mean, I'm with you on this being an ethical poem, and I think it's also a poem that's like a classic Modpo poem, pedagogical, in the sense that it's trying to decouple noticing and interpreting, which is really hard for students to do. My students this semester were really wrestling with that, reading the Eileen Miles poem Writing yesterday.
Eileen Miles' poem Writing,
which
is in the Modpo syllabus.
Is in the Modpo syllabus, and it was really hard for my students, and I think students of this Ray Armantrout poem, to identify what's happening without tying or suturing their identification to an interpretive move. And that's an ethical gesture, and it's also a feminist gesture to say, and like, this is already a poem in which we're gendering someone else. Like, we're already doing some interpretive work of not saying, I see a person who's running, I've identified that person as a girl. That's a girl-identified person. And so it's trying to think about how much can you observe without that naming being a kind of argumentation or interpretation? Where is that line? And it's not anywhere clear.
Right. It has everything to do with imagism, too. It's not just a bash against creative writing pedagogy. It's also a concern about getting back to the imagist idealism of what HD does with the sea and the land, which is just not interested in assigning to it any motive other than what is fact, what is inevitable, what is natural, what is true.